So I'm glad to be here with you all. So today is June 27th, 2025, and we will be reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 8, Text 3. So that's 383. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Nashta praeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. So we are reading from the third canto, chapter 8, text 3. So I think we can start by reading the verse line by line.
Okay.
So this is text 3. Asinam urvyam bhagavantam adyam
Asinam Urvyam Bhagavantam Adyam
sankarshanam devam akunta sattvam
Sankarshanam Devam Akunta Sattvam
vivitsavastatvam atah parasya
Vivitsavastatvam Atat Parasya
kumara mukya munayo anvaprichan
Kumara Mukya Munayon Vapricham
asinam urvyam bhagavantam adyam
Asinam Urvyam Bhagavantam Adyam
sankarshanam devam akunta sattvam
Sankarshanam Devam Akunta Sattvam
vivitsavastatvam atah parasya
Vivitsavastatvam Atat Parasya
kumara mukya munayo anvaprichan
Kumara Mukya Munayon Vapricham Asinam Urvyam Bhagavantam Adyam
Asinam Urvanam Bhagavatam Adijam
Sankarshanam Devam Akunta Sattvam
Sankarshanam Devam Akutta Tattvam
Vivitsavastatvam Ata Parasya
Vivitsasvastapa Ata Parasya
Kumara Mukya Munayon Vaprichan
Kumara Mukayo Munayo Navaprichan Asinam Urvayam Bhagavatam Adyam
Asinam Urvyam Bhagavantam Adyam
Sankursanam Devam Ukata Sattvam
Sankarshanam Devam Akunta Sattvam
Viva Sasvas Tattvam Atta Parasya
Vivitsavastatvam Ata Parasya
Kumara Mukya Munayo Navaprichan
Kumara Mukya Munayon Vaprichan
Asinamuryam Bhagavantamadyam
Asinam Urvyam Bhagavantam Adyam
Sankarshanam Devamakunta Sattvam
Sankarshanam Devam Akunta Sattvam
Vivitsavastattvamata Parasya
Vivitsavastatvam Ata Parasya
Kumara Mukya Munayo Naprichan
Umara Mukya Munayon Vaprichan
Asinam urvayam bhagavatam ajam
Asinamorvyam Bhagavantamadhyam
Sankarshanam devanakunta sattvam
Sankarshanam Devamakunta Sattvam
Vivitsavastattvamata parasya
Vivitsavastattvamata Parasya
Kumaramukya munayo napricham
Umara Mukya Munayon Vaprichan
Asinam,
Asinam
seated,
Seated
urvyam,
Orvyam
in the bottom of the universe,
in the bottom of the universe
Bhagavantam,
Bhagavantam
unto the Lord,
unto the Lord
Adyam,
Adyam
the original,
the original
Sankarshanam,
Sankarshanam
Sankarshana,
Sankarshana
Devam,
Devam
the personality of Godhead,
the personality of Godhead
Akunta Sattvam,
Akunta Sattva,
undeterred knowledge,
undeterred knowledge.
Vivitsava,
Vivitsava
being inquisitive to know,
being inquisitive to know
Tattvam Ataha,
Tattvam Ataha
truth like this,
truth like this
Parasya,
Parasya
regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead
Kumara,
Kumara
the boy saint,
the boy saint
Mukya,
Mukya
headed by
headed by
Munaya,
Munaya
great sages,
great sages
and Vaprichan,
and Vaprichan
inquired like this.
inquired like this.
So this chapter is called Manifestation of Brahma from Vishnu, and the translation reads, some time ago, being inquisitive to know, Sanat Kumara, the chief of the boy saints, accompanied by other great sages, inquired exactly like you about the truth regarding Vasudeva, the Supreme, from Lord Sankarshan, who is seated at the bottom of the universe. Purport. This is in clarification of the statement that the Lord spoke directly on the Srimad Bhagavatam, when and unto whom the Bhagavatam was spoken is explained herewith. Questions similar to those put forward by Vidura were asked by great sages like Sanat Kumara and Lord Sankarshan. The plenary expansion of the Supreme Lord Vasudeva answered them. Om Ainanaatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I start my class by question because I'm not sure. So Lord Sankarshan, as described here, because I did not do any research, he's seated at the bottom of the universe. There are two expansions of Lord Sankarshan that are like from Krishna. And then from the second expansion, there is Mahavishnu, and from Mahavishnu is Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. So this Lord Sankarshan is Garbhodakashayi Vishnu or is some other expansion? That's my question.
Okay. I'm thinking that the Sankarshan is non-different from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, though some other person. Like it's a Vishnu expansion. It's a Vishnu expansion, though I don't think it's Garbhodakashai Vishnu from whom the lotus sprouts.
Okay, so there is Sankarshan seated at the bottom of the universe, and we just go with that. Thank you. Great. So here in this verse, there is like the precise process of inquiring about the transcendental knowledge and getting the transcendental knowledge. And the example is set by Sanat Kumara, who is the chief of the boy saints. So there are four boy saints, and like that also shows that one can be a saint regardless of the form. Regardless of the form, one can be a saint and be a boy. One can be a saint and be rich. One can be a saint and be completely materially poor. One can be saint and be famous. One can be uh, saint and be also materially sick, like the body can experience some deep material sickness and still the person can be saint, and the saint can also be like seemingly perfectly or actually perfectly healthy. So I was saying seemingly because every one of us here is like we are in like the diseased state, regardless if we feel like healthy or ill, because the body is actually like decomposing each moment, getting to its like final stage when there is like the end of the material body. Actually, yesterday I was listening from Prabhupada's class, and uh, I think it was like class from like something like 66 or 69, 68. And the gentleman there at the end of the class, he like asked something for Prabhupada. And Prabhupada like answered, first you need to understand that you are in the diseased co- co- condition, that you are not actually happy here. And the gentleman was like, I'm actually like happy. And Prabhupada was like, no, you need to understand, like there is uh, there is death, and once there is death somewhere in the future, so that is intrinsically an unhappy state. There's an unhappy state, and because we are diseased, we are mistakenly thinking that we are happy, because as someone who is deeply suffering, he can also like from time to time experience a relief, but and then like I'm mistaken, yeah, uh, I'm thinking it's happiness, but it's actually like a temporary relief. So here, the chief of the boy saints, that also indicates that if we have like a group of people, there is always like a chief. It's like it like naturally develops in like organizations, societies, like virtually in every uh, every situation where we have like more than, I don't know, like one person. There is some chief. Like I can have a sports team, and there is always like a chief of that team. So here we have the chief of the boy saints, and we get to know what actually he did. And he was inquiring about what? About Akunta Sattvam. Akunta Sattvam. That's described there. Akunta means, as is this translated here, undeterred, or we can also translate it as not being influenceable by any force. It like stays as it is. And sattvam means knowledge. So that's eternal knowledge. Knowledge that is factual, that is true in every situation. That's Akunta Sattvam. So he inquired about that. And in a relation of Vasudev, the Supreme. So it was the knowledge about the Supreme. And he inquired from Lord Sankarshan. And also how he inquired, that's also described here. Vivitsavaha, being inquisitive. So he actually wanted to know, because I'm part of the reading group with some Czech devotees here, and we are reading through the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta. And now we are like in the second part, and it's like the 1966, and Srila Prabhupada is having his center on 22nd Avenue, in the storefront, and there like many people are visiting because they often hear that something interesting is happening there, and maybe some just visit that there is like food being served, or some visit that there is like shelter that they can sleep overnight, like in the summer of 1966. Srila Prabhupada was like giving quite a lot of space in the temple in Lower East Side. And yes. So not like, yeah, and like some came to a challenge the philosophy and not really wanted to learn. So if I'm inquisitive, that means I want to learn. I want to learn something, and I want to at least consider the response I'm getting, and that's the platform of progress. Also in the Vedanta sutras, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. So that's the first steps, is to inquire. So Sanat Kumara is inquiring about the transcendental knowledge from Lord Sankarshan. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport explains that the Lord spoke directly on the Srimad Bhagavatam. So also, not only the devotees of the Lord speak on the Srimad Bhagavatam, but also the Lord himself speaks about the Srimad Bhagavatam. The devotees of the Lord are his pure representatives, and then there is no difference between the knowledge being handled by the Lord himself and his pure devotees. For example, in Bhagavad Gita, we have that the Lord himself is giving the transcendental knowledge unto his dear friend and devotee Arjuna, and he's explaining the process of giving the transcendental knowledge in Bhagavad Gita. Evam parampara praptam imam rajar seo vidu. Takže so it goes down through the disciplic succession, and Also, Krishna explains to Arjuna, Bahunime Vyatitani, Janmani Tavacharjuna, that he actually explained the Bhagavad Gita many times, many times. And Arjuna was there because he is the eternal companion of Krishna, but Arjuna did not remember. But Krishna, of course, did remember. So that's the distinction between the living entity and the Lord. So what's this? Like this Akunta Sattvam, this undeterred uh, uh, knowledge. Why is it like repeated many times over, like in this universe, in so many situations? And it's sometimes it's the Lord who explains the knowledge. Someone is the devotee of the Lord who like explains the knowledge to like living entities. Sometimes it's the devotee who explains the knowledge uh, to the Lord. So the exchange also happens like that. For example, in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya hears about the transcendental knowledge from his devotees, or in the pastimes of Vamanadev. Actually, Vamanadev visits Bali Maharaj, and actually Bali Maharaj then talks some transcendental understanding before Vamanadev. So the exchanges happen like that, and one could like ask, like, why to repeat the same thing so many times? It's like, okay, there is like the supreme person, right? He is the highest. That means that no one is on the same level, and everyone is below. And like, it's like on like almost every page of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and there are so many pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Like this third canto, it's like very thick. It's like a very thick volume. This one has like 1,500 pages. So why have so many pages on like these simple things? Why not talk about, I don't know, some news finally? Some news. We can talk about your great President Trump. He's like the source. Yes, it's like the source of news for the whole world. Yeah. Um, because this transcendental knowledge, it actually like pleases the soul. It's like the only source of like deep and true satisfaction of the soul, because it directly relates to the soul. Yes, and like and, and part of that knowledge is the knowledge of this world. And one of, I think, like significant points of this knowledge is like that this world is created for our evolution of consciousness. That's the purpose of this place. Because if I do not know that this place has actually some goal, that this place was created uh, uh, for something, that my life will be very difficult, let's say, even from the practical point of view. Because what's the point, right? I can try to do something in this world, like I can try to have a business. I can try to have a great job. I can try to have wonderful friends. I can try to have many children. I can try to have a big sum on my bank account. I can try to have like big house, beautiful car, of course, even more beautiful wife. And yeah, there are so many goals I can try to go after. But actually, the transcendental knowledge says that none of it will be fulfilling unless it is connected with the soul, because we are the soul. So, how to connect it with the soul is to engage it in the devotional service. So, uh, anything that comes in this world is like, my wife is is writing, it's becoming spicy. So I will respond to that later, so it does not uh, go somewhere. Okay.
Well, I'm going to read it. She wrote, "There is no such thing as an even more beautiful wife, so it is becoming spicy." Okay.
Yes, yes, yes,
Hare Krishna.
yes. So yes, so if some uh, 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 problem comes, and like uh, I have also a different reading group, and we just finished reading the road less traveled from M. Scott Peck, and like it's a famous book, of course, and it starts like the life is full of problems, right? So that's the nature of this place, and like that's part of the true understanding of this world. And then uh, I just get to choose how to deal with those problems. I don't have the choice of like not facing these problems, because that's the nature, that's the nature of this place. And then when I'm like thinking about how to deal with these problems, like it helps very much if I know like what's the goal of handling these problems, and I can, if I have the understanding, and the understanding says, okay, these problems come for my spiritual progress. That's the point of these problems. And if I perceive these problems like that, then I can connect with the joy, actually in handling these problems. Because if I don't, if there is like a problem, and it's like it's like an obstacle from my sense enjoyment. Because let's be true, most people see problems as an obstacle from sense gratification. So I need to solve this, and after I solve this, I can have fun. I can be happy, right? It's the quintessential have to be. So, and it doesn't work because there is always the have in the beginning. So after I solve some problem, a different problem will come. So I will never get to the joy, to the happiness. So the real way to handle the problem is to connect with the joy, because the problem actually represents joy, because the problem is there and I want the problem, because it's the source of progress. I don't need to like create problems, because there is always plenty problems to handle. Um, yes, yes. So, and then that's the basic theme of the first book of Scotch pack, and then actually we can reciprocate with the supreme in this world, because who is the source of those problems? It's the supreme, because he's the source of everything. It's not me. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I can see myself like co-creating these problems, of course, and also like I can have the trust that any problem that will come will be just for me. So I don't need to go like this is like way difficult for me. Maybe in a few years I can like handle it, but not now. La la la. Well, it is said in the Vedas that the place is like a perfect place for self-realization. So there is no mistake that the problem would be too big. So if like a seemingly big problem comes, and I can be even more joyful, because that means I'm capable of handling big problems. Because big problem came, and this place is uh, perfect, exactly suited for my experience. So it's it's for me. So that's like the point, that the transcendental knowledge is not some like distant thing that's not useful in the practical life. It's like the basis of practical life. It's like the basis of practical life. And like as we read in in the first reading group, where we read Srila Prabhupada's Lila Amrita, yeah, like in the summer of 1966, some of the uh, 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 visitors, they became serious in like helping Prabhupada building the movement. And it's described there that like virtually all of them had some idea about the spiritual life, had some idea about the spiritual life. Like the one boy, like uh, like it's described there that he visited the place, and they had a, a kirtan there. So the program was that first there was kirtan, then Bhagavad Gita class, and after the Bhagavad Gita class was again a kirtan. So he liked being part of the kirtan, but he did not want to chant japa on beats, because the idea was like, I don't want to sit in one place and to just chant japa. It's like he later said, Prabhupada, I want to run on the beach. I want to run on the beach and breathe like fresh air. So, and Prabhupada responded, then do it, run on the beach. Because spiritual life can also look like that I'm running on the beach, because I can have the idea that spiritual life means like shanti. I sit on in like one spot, and I just chant beats sitting in one place. And it can have many forms. And some of the some of those who came actually visited India, and maybe that's why they came to Prabhupada's place, because they heard that Indian Swami is there, and actually they realized they do not have to visit India to get like the experience of like the uh, um, the spiritual experience, and yes, so it's like also described in the book from Scott Peck, that usually we have some like first idea about God, and often like our idea about God comes from our experience with our mom and dad. So I tend to think that God is like mom and dad, because when I was small, my mom and dad, they did like great things, unconceivable things, because they like managed all these things, and I had no idea how they did these things. So they were the God figure in my youth. And then, Scott Peck says that most of us remain psychologically children throughout our whole life. So we tend to keep the idea about God uh, based on our experience with my parents. So, for example, if I have experienced like physical harm with my parents, I might have the idea about like cruel God, because that was my experience with my parents. So, but that's not the real God, right? So, for example, Scott Peck writes that first we need to like destroy the God, like our mistaken idea about the God, and then after that we can come to the true God. Uh, uh, yes. So, and how we can destroy by submissively inquiring about the transcendental knowledge, as Sanat Kumara is giving the example here, and mainly by engaging ourselves in the transcendental process, in the practice of devotional service. Just then we can have the real understanding. In Bhagavad Gita, there is the verse Raja Vidya, Raja Guhram Pavitramidam Uttamam Prateksha Avagamam Dharmam Susukam Kartum Avayam. So it's about Raja Vidya. So it's about the king of knowledge. And this king of knowledge, the transcendental knowledge, is like directly experienced. And it's joyful. So that relates to the point. If I perceive this world, this creation, as perfectly suited for my self-realization, I will be joyful. It will, it will, well, I will still experience pain, because that's part of the package, but uh, it might not be of like a pain filled with like desperation, frustration, depression. It can be like a joyful struggle. Like as we are reading the lifetime of Prabhupada, Prabhupada did so many things. He like tried to, for example, buy a building like in the 1966, 1965. Like the plan was to find a house and to get some donation from rich Indian people to actually establish a place in New York. So Prabhupada spent so much time to like find the funds. So then he found like a rich uh, Indian devotee who was willing to give, money to buy like a small house. But then Indian government did not give the permission to actually move the funds from India to the United States. So all of these tries, we could say, like, failed. Well, at the same time, like, they did not fail because it was part of the reciprocation between the pure devotee and the Lord. So when we are like handling problems with joy, with the goal, where the goal is our self-realization, then there is no success or failure in the result, because also the result is again always perfect for my self-realization. So if I try to do some project or activity for spreading Krishna consciousness, supporting self-realization, then I don't need to be like emotionally dependent if it's like a, I don't know, big success, small success, complete failure, and like that. Because again, I'm facing a situation which is perfect for my self-realization, and for someone it's like growth promoting when he uh, faces a big success, seeming success, or for someone it's like growth promoting when he faces a seeming fail. So it also depends. And yes, yes. So that's some points that come to my mind reading this verse and this rather short text from Prabhupada. So I will read text 3. Asinam urvyam bhagavantam aryam sankarshanam devamakunta sattvam vivitsavastatvam atah parasya kumara mukya munayon vaprichan. Some time ago, being inquisitive to know, Sanat Kumara, the chief of the boy saints, accompanied by other great sages, inquired exactly like you about the truth regarding Vasudev, the Supreme, from Lord Sankarshan, who is seated at the bottom of the universe. Thank you for your listening. And now is the time, if you want to share something, ask some question, and like that. Haribo.
Hare Krishna, Yogesvara Prabhu. Thanks for your class. I appreciated all the points you emphasized. Towards the beginning, you spoke about, it seems obvious, like, yeah, well, asking questions because vivitsava, because we want to know. Well, obviously. I'm recalling there's some exchange with Srila Prabhupada, and I appreciated the exchanges with Srila Prabhupada you brought into your presentation. And Prabhupada, in response to someone, he made the distinction of asking questions because you want to understand, or asking questions because you want to avoid understanding. And so that just came to me hearing you, that because sometimes if my questions, I mean, there's healthy skepticism, but if I'm coming from cynicism where I'm closed-minded, I'm just asking questions try to make you look foolish or bad or wrong, and it's not sincere to like, I really want to understand. So I appreciate that distinction. And also, yeah, that you started like, yeah, well, how come this is spoken again and again? Um, so, of course, we're getting Bhagavatam through Srila Vyasadeva and Shukadev Goswami, Sutta Goswami. And so like, okay, let's say this Bhagavatam from Lord Sankarshan, seated at the bottom of the universe, or his disciples, the four Kumaras, headed by Sanat Kumar. And that's interesting because we know the four Kumaras, but here it's very clear of the four, Sanat Kumar is the chief. So I appreciate that tidbit of information. So let's say the Bhagavatam coming from Sanat Kumar or Lord Sankarshan at the bottom of the universe. Yeah, so it's completely transcendental and it purifies the universe. And for me, it doesn't mean anything. Like I wouldn't like I'm not connected with it. I'm not connected with it. And so Krishna arranges either directly or as devotees according to time and circumstance. Srila Prabhupada coming to the Lower East Side of Manhattan in 1966 with 66 with the 3 volumes of Bhagavatam. And then Srila Prabhupada giving us Bhagavatam, which is not different than the Bhagavatam coming from Lord Sankarshan or Sanat Kumar, or the Bhagavatam spoken in Shukadev Goswami, Sutta Goswami. But then Srila Prabhupada said then there's a special empowerment from Vasudeva to move us to dedicate our lives to Bhagavatam. And so that's why it's, Prabhupada's Bhagavatam, it's the same, and at the same time it's distinct in a way that's meaningful for us and for the whole planet at this time. In sharing that, I'm thinking of this verse from Sri Narada Muni, spoken to Vyasadeva when Vyasadeva was feeling kind of despondent and morose. Tadbhag Visargo Janataga Viplovo Yasmin Pratishlokaya Bhadavatyapi Namanyanantasya Yashonkitanya Shvinvadgyanti Grinanti Sadava. And Narada Muni says that this Bhagavatam, it's destined to create a revolution in the consciousness of the impious persons of this upcoming yuga, this Kali yuga, because Narada Muni spoke to Vyasadeva right at the cusp between the previous yuga and the Kali yuga. And so I'm just like, I think it's permissible conjecture that Narada Muni is predicting the appearance and activities of Srila Prabhupada. If we look at the history over the recent centuries or a few millennia, of course, Bhagavatam was appreciated by Vaishnav sadhus in some villages here and there, but we don't see the Bhagavatam creating a planetary revolution in consciousness until Srila Prabhupada sailed on the Jaladuta and brought his Bhagavatams. And that, because in that verse from Narada Muni, Tadbhag Visargo Janataga Viplavo, Viplavo means revolution, and Narada Muni specifically says, it says, even if it's imperfectly composed, so from, let's say, an external point of view, especially those 3 volumes that Srila Prabhupada brought, published before he came to the USA, there was no editing, and the English is very rough. So just wanted to share a few points that touched me, especially from the beginning part of your class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your sharing. Yes, like Srila Prabhupada being like and like a significant part of the spreading of Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the universe. And as you shared in the end, like those like like one can say like this like Srimad Bhagavatam that Prabhupada brought is like full of mistakes, right? The text is full of mistakes. Well, I'm not so sure about that because they look like mixed mistakes, right? Because we tend to look from like the mistakes is like it's like a mistake that means like it's a contrary to some rule that's like in the grammar that's made by people, and it kind of changes over time, develops, and like that. Okay, so that's like one view of mistake. And the other view is like if it uh, inspires me in my devotional service, that's not a mistake. Like the word can be like, let's say, incorrect in like the English grammar, but it's if this like the word moves me towards devotional service, there is no mistake. It's like it's yes. So we can perceive this like seeming mistakes with like different vision because we judge on this like spiritual platform, we judge things differently, right? Because on the material platform we like look a lot at the result according to our expectation, because the expectation like kind of drives the sense of gratification. If my expectation is low, let's say I'm going for uh, for I'm I'm going for lunch, yes, and my expectation of the quality of the food is very low. Then I will be happy if the food is just okay, right? Because my expectation was low. Or if I'm like getting a wife and I'm having low expectations, then maybe I will be quite satisfied in the marriage afterwards. Rather than like having like big expectations, like this is the love of my life and we will have these romantic relationships that will last through centuries. Well, then probably I will end up unhappy because my expectations will not be met. So a lot of our experience in this world is like according to our expectations. And many like
You're very courageous to give the examples you're giving. Hare Krishna.
it's okay, It, we've been through worse times. Yes, so but then it's like the spiritual platform, and it's like if it moves me to like greater devotional service, like greater inspiration to engage myself in self realization, that's the source of joy. That's the source of joy, and it's not really about like being emotionally dependent on like expectations. So yes.
Thank you, Yogesvara Prabhu. Thanks for that. And that's why, like, in the publication Srila Prabhupada Shastra Perspectives on the Infallibility of Srila Prabhupada, which we published last year, sometimes we're using the term mistakes and we put it in quotes, because from the transcendental perspective, which is the absolute perspective and the perspective that really counts, there's no mistake. Everything is empowered from Krishna. And then, of course, and then what's happening? We won't go on much of a digression there, but sometimes it's like there's instances, as I know you're aware, where Srila Prabhupada's English, even from an English point of view, even from an English scholarly point of view, is just like perfect and eloquent and scholarly. And then there's changes, and as you know, and one particular change, I engaged in communication with the changer, and the response I got is, well, Srila Prabhupada's use of this, because I said, well, is there something wrong with Prabhupada's grammar? Because as far as I know, the grammar is fine, the punctuation's fine. And the response was, oh, it wasn't grammar or punctuation. No, it just said Srila Prabhupada's use of this term, it doesn't conform with our understanding of the philosophy. So we changed it. So I'm not going to go too much there. I know you're aware of this. So, but even when there is an apparent mistake, yeah, it's transcendently perfect and empowered. Hare Krishna. Thanks for your response. Rosa.
All of this talk about no mistakes, what I hear is a very melodic song that Rohini wrote. I believe that's titled No Mistakes. And since I've heard her perform it, it often plays in my mind as a reassurance of the complete and wholeness, even through difficulty. And I just wanted to mention it. Hare Krishna.
Thanks for that, Bhakti Rose. I'll quickly mention this morning, right before japa period, we read something from Srila Prabhupada about chanting, and Rose and I went to a brief discussion on the Om Purnam verse, which is like it's the quintessential everything's complete and perfect, including and especially the apparent disturbances. Om Purnam Madaha Purnamidam Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vishishate, and Parampara is confirming that his wife's song is called No Mistakes. Hare Krishna.
And thanks for that. Yes, because even like on like the practical level, like successful people don't usually like engage themselves in like trying to like figure out like this should not happen, this should be like a different way. Like successful people usually, according to my experience, like take the situation as it is and like try to find the best way to like progress towards their goal, and like the unsuccessful people, like we like end up like complaining, blaming, and like that. So this like the even like yes, yeah, like the more I'm like accepting the features of the material context, the more the more happiness and success I will experience even in this life. So yes. Are there any other questions, points, sharings?
Hare Krishna. Yes, I
Hare
have
Bol.
some points. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your class, Yogesvara. It was very enlivening to hear. I appreciate your grounded and humorous energy. You spoke about everything is perfect for us, like every situation. That's not the words you said, but that's how I understood. And I related to this saying that life is happening for me. So everything that's happening is perfect for my self-realization. And I'm wondering, and I'm curious to hear if you have more to share about that. It seems like really important that I know it's happening for my self-realization, because I can think of so many situations, even knowing theoretically, oh, it's good for my self-realization, so many situations where I felt completely overwhelmed, like not knowing how can I handle this, how is this happening, And I'm thinking of, someone having a war experience or a hunger experience or, any traumatic experience. Yeah, what's the what yeah, what's the importance of knowing and what is required to actually know? This is perfect for me. And also we're ready to handle it because I think of many situations where I didn't feel ready to handle it. And what is the definition of success?
Hare Krishna Anandini. Yes, it's like well, relieving because I don't need to think about if I'm like capable of handling it. Because if it's there, I'm able to handle it. That's what is being said. So that my it's like it feels natural that I might feel that I'm not capable of handling it. And that's fine, that's the feeling. At the same time, by the dint of transcendental knowledge, we can understand that we are like able to handle it. And like handling, like what does handling mean, right? It's like,
Yeah, I
yeah,
survived.
well, yes. And it's like fight, like like it's the goal like to survive, right? Or it's the goal like what? And yeah, like that comes to your like second question, like what's the success? That's like the question, like what's the goal? Because handling means like I probably reached some goal, yes, and maybe survive is not the goal because the soul will survive. It's indestructible, so that's good news. And it's important news that there is nothing that can destroy the soul. And like, war, famine, disease. Yes, it's like still the soul remains. So is there anything for me to handle actually at all, right? Because the soul is just, whatever, in a sense. Still, like I can respond because the question is not handle. Handle is like, I want to grab it. And yes, it's like more like respond in many uh, situation. And maybe the question is like how to respond that it will increase my enthusiasm for the process of self-realization. So to give like a specific case, for example, so in the second part of uh, July, so it's quite close. My wife, Galadini Shetty, will be taking part of the Padayatra festival. So it's like basically uh, 14 days of walking, right? Walking from one place to a different place and like that. And she will be taking our son, our baby son. He's like 6 months old now. So it will be quite a challenging situation. And my role, it seems, is like to uh, provide some support if like things go south and like, yes, basically. So not walking, dancing in Harinam. It's dancing in Harinam. It's not like walking as your stupid husband like thinks, which is It's dancing in Harinam, singing, glorifying the Lord, the holy name, the movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and like that. Yes. And it's like, it's for me to be there and providing support. And I have no interest of like walking for 14 days. Like I think that my body is not capable of doing it at all. So, and so I'm facing a problem to like spend 14 days doing something that I don't actually want to do. And I can have the approach of like, oh, that sucks. That will be like frustrating, and I don't really want to do that. This process is like forcing me to do something I don't want. And like, well, I can create like this frustrating experience, but I think I will handle it in a way that I will rent a very nice place with a swimming pool somewhere there, and I will be giving the support there, and I will be enthusiastically going there, taking the transcendental food which they will prepare, driving my car, and like that. So it's like better than creating the frustration of like being like despondent, that's not fair, that my wife needs to have this experience, and I'm like victimized because I have the baby, I need to take care of the baby. So it's like, okay, what's the best response I can do regarding to this like situation? The best response that I came up with so far is like to rent. If I'm gonna stretch myself, I'm gonna at least rent a nice room in some nice place, and I will feel like relax, and like I will not leave the comfort in my bodily bodily experience. So Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your response, Yogeshwar. So success is, I like that definition. Success is when it enthuses my inspiration for self-realization and for devotional service. That's what I'm taking from your response. And so it seems, yeah, receiving transcendental knowledge, that's really the key to even come to that perspective, and then consider, how can I create success? How can I respond in a successful way?
I'm reminded in the conversation. Thanks for the conversation. There's a conversation, and they're talking about yes, like there was some Darwin's theory of evolution, survival of the fittest. And at one point, Srila Prabhupada said, he said, "You don't know what it means to survive, and you don't know what it means to be fit." And so what I'm getting is related to the conversation here. And Prabhupada emphasized, yeah, to survive and be fit means I'm fit to not be forced to take birth in another material body, to not take birth. And so that's success. That's what it means to actually survive. That I'm responding to each situation with deeper enthusiasm for devotional service. We can bring in the term here of the supreme facilitator, and the idea of a facilitator. He's going to give us stretches. Stretches is like, I can't do, and in order to handle that, I need to come out of my comfort zone, come out of complacency, and get uncomfortable. And that's the idea, to be uncomfortable in material existence. Yesterday, I was listening to a lecture from Srila Prabhupada from chapter 15, text 1, Bhagavad Gita. And Srila Prabhupada, it's the banyan tree analogy. And so the reflected tree, which is the material world, it's upside down. The branches are down and the roots are up. And Prabhupada said, yeah, so imagine if you're hanging upside down and your legs are up and your head's down. It's just a hopelessly uncomfortable position. So everything in the material world's like that. But the force of Maya, it's like, no, I'm fine here. No, it's good. No, I'm fine. We can be a pig in mud or whatever. It's a very uncomfortable position. So the Supreme Facilitator is regularly giving us stretches that, of course, Krishna knows, Srila Prabhupada knows we can handle. And to handle it for true survival and true fitness, it means we need to come out of our comfort zone and stretch and deepen our surrender and deepen our commitment and be enthusiastic for the opportunity to engage in that activity that will be for eternal survival, eternal benefit, and to get ourselves out of the illusion that, oh no, this is a happy place, as M. Scott Peck starts his book. Life is difficult. So those are some thoughts that come to me. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for sharing this distinction between the fight for survival in the bodily sense compared to the real like the fight of for survival on the spiritual platform, because on the spiritual platform it's about to transcend the samsara, the repeated birth and death. And maybe one last thing that comes to me, it's okay, I can because as Yohanadini shared, the transcendental knowledge gives the way, because without the transcendental knowledge I do not know where to direct myself. So because without the transcendental knowledge I can have the understanding, okay, this life is full of problems, full of suffering, let me get out of this bodily experience, and I might have the idea of becoming one with the Supreme, of to essentially do not look at the pain, trying to hide from the pain. And I'm sharing that because a few days ago I was listening to Prabhupada's class, and he shared that it's like when a rabbit hides his eyes not to see the danger, and that then the rabbit feels safe because he hides he closes his eyes. It's like Prabhupada says rabbit, and then he says also child. The child might hide his or her eyes to get rid of the danger, right? So it's like the impersonalist idea, actually, and that also relates with the Scott Peck book, because Scott Peck he writes there that yes, the idea of impersonalism is the idea of trying to become a child again, actually to merge with the mommy in the womb. It's like the same, and I could see the relation with uh, uh, with the understanding that Prabhupada gives, or at least my understanding what Prabhupada gives with the description of Scott Peck. So without having the clear direction of Prabhupada, Prabhupada says, okay, the goal is to engage in the devotional service, to engage in Prabhupada's program, and like that. If I do not have that, I might have a feeling, and I may act on the feeling to merge with this, and I can spend the whole life trying to merge, trying to get rid of the pain, and actually it will be just me trying to become a baby again, and it's the whole thing, and I will spend the whole life like that. So that's an opportunity to be grateful for some better direction. Hare Krishna. Okay, is there anything else? Okay, thank you all for this class, for giving me this chance, and I wish you a blissful day filled with self-realization.
Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Thank you, Yogesvara Prabhu. Hare Bol.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.